Let's talk digital recording. So knowing what we know about bit depth and sample rate, there's still lots of interesting things that happen with that. Some of the earliest musical instruments are themselves not great digital quality. So the Akai MPC-60, probably one of the most popular, influential items, digital items for music making, 1988, 12-bit with the max sample rate of 40 kilohertz. And that kind of graininess and sort of inherent makes it very interesting sounding. The Emulator 2, one of the most popular and early sampling instruments, 27.78K sample rate with 8-bit.
Think I may need a kidney transplant. Excuse me.
Think you'll be alive this weekend?
It's 10 grand if you wanted the extra 20 megabytes of memory. It sounds amazing, and these still are sought in the aftermarket because A, they're interesting, B, the way they sample is just super unique sounding, so there's a lot of fun to be had with that. So let's talk about some recording digital myths. So with digital, we want to record with lower levels, right? That's not always true. So we've talked about this. The zeros and ones turn fine, but if you only record down here and you try to turn that signal up, you're going to bring the noise floor up with it as well. Recording at low levels is not something that's desirable. The recorded signal will be fine, but the inherent noise floor will rise up with it. Okay, but if we record at low level, we can fix that by normalizing the audio to 0 dB full scale, right? Can't we? So what's normalization? Normalization is applying gain to reach the maximum amplitude. So even though you record at level, you'll see this in a lot of DAWs, is the ability to normalize the audio. And it'll let you normalize it all the way to 0 dB full scale. So what does that look like? Well, here we have audio that's recorded kind of low or with some headroom, but maybe you want to normalize it. And you normalize it all the way to 0. So just go ahead and max it out, right? And this is the loudest part of the audio that's recorded, and it puts it all the way to 0 dB full scale. So is this a good thing? Possibly, but not always. Why? Well, if we normalize the audio we did here, what's going to happen when the computer tries to then sample? It won't be able to sample above 0 dB full scale. So it will think the audio is clipped and will produce then digital distortion. You can normalize audio, you just don't want to normalize it to 0 dB full scale. Generally negative 3 dB or negative 2 dB full scale is where you want to go with that. So something to be taken careful with. Okay, so we don't want to record too low. Okay, so then we want to record with hot levels. We don't necessarily want to do that either. So in digital, there's an absolute ceiling, 0 dB full scale. It cannot exceed that. So when we look at analog peak meter, we see 0 dB VU, and then we can see that it goes beyond that. So this is our target. At this point, we're not clipping, we are exceeding the capabilities of what's going on, but the analog equipment is able to handle those overs. Whereas in digital audio, if you look, 0 dB full scale is our absolute ceiling. So if we're using analog and digital meters, we want to pay attention where everything is. You'll see that 0 dB VU in an analog meter generally corresponds with negative 18 dB full scale in a digital meter, giving you that inherent headroom that's available to you on an analog system, available to you in the digital system.